Hey, welcome to PNW Enduro. In today's video, I'm going to compare the new Lectron Billetron to the Smartcarb 2. So this is a 38mm Billetron carb from Lectron, and the Smartcarb is a 36mm. So Smartcarb actually makes a 38 and a 36, where Lectron is only a 38. So we're going to put both of these carbs on the same model bike, and we're going to ride them back to back in real time and see how they stack up against each other. So the Lectron Billetron is a 38mm carburetor. These are both self-metering carburetors, meaning you're not going to have to jet them for elevation or temperature, and they also tend to get a lot better fuel mileage than a standard carb. These kind of carbs are key for me because I ride a ton of different places, different elevation. I could be at 1,000 feet one day and 9,000 feet the next, so I don't want to be jetting every week. So first off, the Lectron Billetron. This is the new product from Lectron. You can see they made some changes from the older versions. It's billet aluminum now. It's got the choke finally moved over to the left-hand side. Still has a nice clear float bowl. And they've changed the bell design, which is supposed to give it better bottom end power, and we're going to find that out in today's video for sure. Okay, here is the 36mm carb from Smartcarb. This is the Smartcarb 2, their latest carb on the market. And same idea as Lectron, where it's a self-metering carb. You don't have to do any jetting. Once you have it set, it's going to be set for any temperature, any elevation. When you do get these, they tend to run a little bit rich. They set them up a little bit on the rich side. But the advantage Smartcarb has over the Lectron right away is it is externally adjustable. So when you have this on the bike, you just hold you have the bike off, you hold the throttle wide open, and you compress this and you turn it left for lean and right for rich. So generally I've used a few of these carbs, and it's just a ride or two of just tweaking it a little bit, and once I had the sweet spot, I never had to adjust it again. Okay, I'm on Russ's 2022 Sherco 300 SE with the Smartcarb. There's Russ on my 2021 with the Lectron. So pulling strong up those hills, second gear. Nice smooth throttle response, and through the RPMs it's really smooth. I've never done this trail. Okay, switching back, my 2021 Sherco 300 SE with the Lectron Billetron. So it's pulling okay as well. When I'm at second, I can feel just off the initial throttle, it's a bit of a lag compared to the Smartcarb. Once you're up in the higher RPM, so it's pretty strong. Yeah, really weak there. Second gear, pivot turn. Barely can lift the front wheel.
That one a lot.
So 15 minutes in, I've got a fair bit of oil already, and I've tuned this Lectron 5 times now, and I've gone almost 2 full turns leaner, so that's pretty significant. The Smartcarb is about, Russ, 30 clicks leaner than stock.
Yeah, maybe as much as 40 if they.
Okay, so
80.
there's barely a bit of oil there, so they both needed to be tuned quite a bit leaner than the baseline. But the thing is the Smartcarb seems to get better and better, and the Lectron, I'm not sure I'm noticing anything better. We'll see how the fuel economy goes, because we both started with full tanks, so we'll track that today as well. This is the first time up in the big mountains this year. It's earlier than I usually get to this area, but I think the snowpack is a little bit less this year. So nice to be able to ride these trails earlier in the year. Such a big area too. I've never actually been on this trail. So like I said, with having to tune this bike with the Lectron 5 times, I've had to pull the slide off. So there's a huge advantage with the Smartcarb of just reaching down and turning the knob. Every time you pull the slide, it's going to be about 10 minutes. So we reached the limit of elevation we're going to get today, I think, but there's still tons of trails here to cover. We're just going to head back down this one. Oh, it's so good to get back into the mountains and smell that pine forest. So the idle is really strong with the Lectron. You can hear it going down these hills, not wanting to stall at all, it seems. See how we do on this switchback. Tight. So getting into a little bit more flowy trails now. And the Lectron carb is totally fine on these trails, except for when I get into a hill that I gotta go up, and I want to do it in third, and I'm having to switch down to second because it just doesn't have the pull. But just cruising around these trails, it feels just fine to me. I don't know if you can hear, but once I get off the throttle and back on, you can hear it bog a bit. Okay, back on the 22 with the Smartcarb. Hopefully get a bit more flowy trails here. So just up those little hills, second gear. The bike just has more pull. It doesn't sound quite as powerful, but it just pulls better. I'm thinking that's because you can get more power in the lower RPMs. Yeah, I think that is the difference In the comments in my videos, people say the Smartcarb doesn't sound as strong. But I really think the difference is you can ride up those hills in a lower RPM and it will pull. Whereas the Lectron, to get any power, you need to be up in the revs. 36 millimeter versus a 38 millimeter. So the results of this test are pretty one-sided this time. I'm quite disappointed with the performance in the new Billetron carb from Lectron. I had expected a lot more out of this carb. I also noticed when I got home that the float bowl is leaking on the Lectron carb. I'll put up a picture here on the screen. I've heard it can leak once you use the new drain on the float bowl, but I haven't actually used that drain and it's still leaking. So as it turns out, Russ and I both much preferred the performance out of the Smartcarb 2 over the Lectron Billetron. So a few years ago I did a comparison with the original Lectron and the original Smartcarb. And I was hoping this comparison would be closer. I had high hopes for the Billetron. But I think the gap is actually even bigger. The Smartcarb is totally my choice.